Thank you so much for joining us today for this lunch talk with the student creators of I-XRAY. This is an event put together between the Library Innovation Lab and the Berkman Klein Center for Internet and Society. For any students here in the audience, we do have a lot of programming across both of our organizations for students. These QR codes will bring you to our various newsletters and our websites for more information about how you can get involved with all of the different projects that we are mutually up to and up to independently. I am going to just pass off to Professor Zittrain and these students who are here to talk to us about privacy and their viral Ray-Ban hack. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Claire, and thanks, Caine and AnhPhu, for your visit today. Way back in the 1980s, way back in the 1980s, there was a show called MacGyver, which celebrated the idea of cobbling stuff together, baling wire and twine, to do amazing things. I think MacGyver was like a detective or, I don't know, some journeyman that just solved problems, and it became sort of a verb to MacGyver something, and spoke to the public about the value of tinkering and technical aptitude with whatever might be at hand. And I identified with it as a kid. I think of Caine and AnhPhu as consummate tinkerers. Which one of you designed a flamethrower? Oh, that was a joint project. And where did you test it?
The iLab parking lot.
Ah, excellent. There must be video of that. Oh, yeah. And you can pull that up, I'm sure. But I'm just amazed that, nonstop building everything from mobile apps to flamethrowers. That is quite a spectrum. And before we cut to the demo and to the implications of it, which are many, I just love to hear from each of you a little bit about how you, if I am right, first identified as tinkerers, how you met each other, and how many of you are there out there? Is there like a fellow travelers club of people with baling wire in tow? I don't know who wants to go first.
Yeah, so...
If he can't figure out the lav mic, it's a real credibility drop, but yeah.
So I'm AnhPhu, senior at Harvard, but yeah, I think you're totally right. Both of us are tinkers at heart. I started building mostly with Lego bricks since I was like 3 years old, just different projects. Did that for like 15 years. Just posted a lot of them online. Like I really like showing off what I build. And
were your folks like encouraging of this, or were they more like, whatever you're doing in that room with that camera and that YouTube connection, that's on you?
They were very supportive. Or
Okay.
My parents always bought me stuff. Yeah.
Yeah? Got it.
And for me, I'm Caine. I started coding around 10 years ago because my dad, he showed me a website called Code Academy, and then I just got like completely hooked on it. Like went through all of the tutorials and stuff on my own, and then once I started with that, it kind of just snowballed into building a bunch of like random projects, mostly software stuff. Like, like maybe I make a website for like meeting up with your friends, and then I built a website for doing like daily journaling to like improve your mental health. And like I just got into a bunch of projects. And then once I got to Harvard, I kind of didn't really have a big like community of other people who like building things until I met AnhPhu. I was working on an electric skateboard in the makerspace, like building my own. And then AnhPhu was also working on like some electric hoverboard that he was also building on his own. And then we were like, oh, we should, like we just like ran into each other in the makerspace, and we were like, oh yeah, we should work together on stuff. So
I love it. One was a skateboard with wheels, the other was a skateboard without wheels.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we just started like building a bunch of stuff together. We spent the entire, like I ended up not doing my internship and just spent the entire summer with AnhPhu, and we were like building, like that's where we built our flamethrower. We built some like robotic tentacles, a bunch of other electric vehicles. We made a skateboard you could control with your fingers to like control the speed, so stuff like that.
And are you, at the moment, do you feel like you're both destined to continue, because you did a startup before coming to Harvard too, like the land of .com and startups and that whole culture and everything? Are you both in founder mode?
Yeah, I would say that we're both pretty definitely like in founder mode, and we're also pretty like set on working together as well, just because we've worked together a lot in the past, and it's like led to on average better outcomes. I would say. I started my first company, I guess freshman year of college, and then I started another one a little bit later, and then I think it's time for another one probably.
Uh-huh. It's company o'clock, we say. Yeah.
Yeah, and I started my first company when I was in high school, like 16. It was a phone repair business. I ran for about 3 years and spent most of my summers working at different startups.
And was most of that phone repair business repairing phones or hiring, training, and commissioning a network of people that did the phones and you just cashed the checks?
I did everything myself mostly,
Uh-huh.
but yeah.
How much money did you make?
Caine just whispered, "How much money did you make?"
It was like
You don't have to answer. I'm just advising you, but
Okay.
you're welcome to answer too.
Yeah, it's okay. Well, I had like 2,400 customers or something.
Okay, well, we can do the math. Excellent. Um, for this particular adventure, how was it incepted? And was it a possible .com idea, or was it always sort of a bit of performance art slash demo messaging to just say something to the world about privacy and then move on?
So how this all got started, I mean, we both used to run VR Club together, so we had a lot of these headsets, and a lot of the projects centered around AI and how you can unlock new use cases with wearable devices. And we also knew about PIMIs. So how we started it was it was just a combination of all those three things together. We thought it'd be interesting to like get people's names when you
PIMIs being one of those websites of which there are a handful that purports to let you put a photo of you in, and then that may or may not already be online, and then identify you and show what other photos of you can be found online. But there's not much vetting of whether the photo you presented is one of you, except a checkbox that says, "It is I."
Yeah, so oh, there we go. Yeah, so we started off as like an interesting like side project, but after we built that and then we started finding out about databases like people search databases where you can go from name to home address and even phone number to social security, we found that this was much more than what we originally thought it was. So when we decided to post it, we made it much more of a privacy awareness campaign than we originally set out to.
And the reason you first started doing it was because you were already into facial recognition and you just thought it would be cool.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And do you still have a functioning pair of the glasses, or I assume two pair?
How we wrote it was a bunch of scrapers, which broke because like the website changes a lot.
Uh-huh.
We could fix it and make it work again. Yeah.
It sounds like a veiled threat, but I understand you're just saying if you were interested, you could be adventuresome with it. And an interesting example, truly, of software tinkering, where it's lots of bits that you're pulling together in a way that presents a kind of gestalt. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, the way that the pipeline works. So, I mean, just to be clear, right? You look at somebody, and then it pulls up their name, a bio, and a home address, and like any other data about the person. And that entire pipeline is facilitated by around four different like services, like microservices that each play a small part in the entire pipeline. So the first one is the reverse face search, where you put in an image of somebody's face and then it outputs other examples of that face on the internet. And that's PIMIs. The second one is once you find other examples of somebody's face on the internet and the associated link, you can scrape each of those websites and get all of the data from those websites. So maybe it'll be like, oh, Caine Ardayfio is a junior at Harvard, blah, blah, blah. Once you do that, you now just have a massive text corpus of a bunch of data about the person, and you can use like a ChatGPT type API to figure out like, oh, based on all of this information, what's the name of this person? And then the last step is the like going from the name to the home address, and that's using fast people search, which is basically a service that does name to home address.
Uh-huh. So this, I think, might be an interesting exploration of hearing about it. And in hearing about it, it's extremely well and lucidly described. And seeing it may feel different. So I think it might be time to, you have a pre-approved demo where the folks implicated have opted in some way to make it. Maybe it's you with each other or something. What's the origin of the demo?
Oh, I was just gonna show the video.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's I don't mean a demo live. I mean a
Oh,
demo
yeah.
video.
Yeah, do you want to answer?
All right. And just so you know, for expectation setting, it's 2 minutes 34 seconds long.
We built glasses that let you identify anybody on the street. The information our tool collects from just a photo of your face is staggering.
To use it, you just put the glasses on, then as you walk by people, the glasses will detect when somebody's face is in frame. This photo is used to analyze them, and after a few seconds, their personal information pops up on your phone.
Oh, this is me volunteering.
June Lee,
in high
right?
school. Yeah. Oh my god.
You're
This photo was great. This is like from
you're from Bergen
2018.
County Academies.
Yeah.
Your Korean name is Ju-eun?
Cambridge Community Foundation. Oh, hi, ma'am. Wait, are you Betsy?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I think I met you through like the Cambridge Community Foundation, right? Yeah. It's great to meet you. I'm Caine.
Oh wait. Oh, so do you happen to be the person working on like minority stuff for like Muslims in India at all or something?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you Kashif?
Yes.
Oh, I've read your work before. It's super cool.
What's your name?
I'm AnhPhu. Nice to meet you. Oh, I love.
Anthony, get in frame.
Oh, okay. But are you Sarah Chan?
No.
So here's how it works. We stream the video from the glasses straight to Instagram and have a computer program monitor the stream. We use AI to detect when we're looking at someone's face. Then we scour the internet to find more pictures of that person. Finally, we use data sources like online articles and voter registration databases to figure out their name, phone number, home address, and relatives' names. And it's all fed back to an app we wrote on our phone.
Using our glasses, we were able to identify dozens of people, including Harvard students, without them ever even knowing. Here's some of our favorites.
My aunt was Secretary of Transportation. That was like what she was getting.
Wait, what's her aunt's name?
LA Chow.
Yeah, okay.
Is your address 4 Valley?
Yeah.
Atlanta, Georgia, 303. Is
Oh my God. Yes. Not anything, but yes.
also attended Yale's Young Global Scholar Summer Program, right?
Really?
Yeah,
Oh.
these are me in like middle school.
Oh my God. What about John and Susan? Are they your
Those are my parents.
parents? Okay, cool. Is that you?
I told you there's so much.
Is that you?
Oh yes.
Oh my God.
So before we continue any colloquy up here, I just want to open the floor for any reactions. Anybody want to react in any way? Understanding this is being recorded 6 ways from Sunday, and obviously you might be identifiable later, even if you don't announce your name. Should we have 2 mics up here and 0 mics back there, is that right?
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll hold it up.
All right. Zoe.
Hello, I'm Zoe. I'm a software engineer at the Applied Social Media Lab, and I really love your project. I think it's super cool. I do not have a law background, but I'm curious how many or if any laws you broke or are being broken in the process of this. So one example being like, I guess scraping might go against the terms of service of certain websites, so that's like a minor law breaking, but are there others, or is this a completely above table product?
First of all, just any initial visceral reactions. Is this kind of for you, ho-hum, yes, of course I could build this too, or is it OMG or somewhere in between?
Okay, sorry, I misunderstood. I
Okay,
love
good
it.
question too.
I think it is definitely cool and shocking. I work in this space, so I am familiar with all of the things that you mentioned. But I think what's really cool about this is that you're taking it off screen. It's one thing to tell people that all this data exists and it's available. It's another to do it in the T station and on the sidewalk. And I think that's what's really powerful about this.
And to engage with people once you've done it as a way of, yep. And I'm definitely not your lawyer, but you need not answer the question, which parts of this are illegal? But you could speak generally to some of the policy issues potentially raised by this.
Yeah, so to the legal end, we definitely broke terms of service. We definitely broke terms of service of the Meta Ray-Bans, and like I guess a bunch of the scraping websites we used. But of course, this was mainly a proof of concept showing people that this was possible, and that's why we didn't really care to not do that. But on the legal end, it's it's not it's not actually illegal to take video of people on the street in Massachusetts, and it's not illegal to do real-time facial recognition in the United States. And all of these websites are publicly available to anyone.
Any other reactions or thoughts? I can also just get a collective reaction from the room. If this feels surprising to you, in an age where we all say, yeah, privacy, it's so hard, just let me know with a hum. 1, 2, 3. All right. If this is kind of like, yeah, I knew you could do this. 1, 2, 3. All right. That was an uncertain hum as well. So there must be a dimensionality to the question I'm not appreciating. Yes, in the back. If I had the Ray-Bans, I would just call by name.
Hi. So I think it is interesting, but it's generally speaking nothing new in terms of the option to cross-reference data and DBs that have leaked online and stuff. I think the more interesting question would be, is it actually feasible to be forgotten? I mean, is it not technologically, which is obvious, yeah, you can delete data, but statistically and I would say over time, can you actually remove yourself any trace of you online?
And that nicely echoes the end of that video, which is like, here's some, scared yet? Here are some useful things you can do to slow down the Ray-Bans. How realistic is it at the individual level that was speaking to and that you all were thinking about? If I'm ready to devote an hour or so to opting out and, I don't know, doing whatever keystrokes I need to do to try to be more inured to this, how effective can I be in making your Ray-Bans come up empty?
Yeah, so as part of the law, each of the websites that we use are required to have some kind of opt-out mechanism where you can, press some series of buttons and be out of the database, basically. We in our original Google Doc that we shared with everybody at the end of our video, we go through each of the steps you have to do for each of the parts of the pipeline. And the two most important parts are the reverse face search, the PIMIs, as well as the address lookup service. Opting out of those takes, it's not a crazy amount of time. It's around 5 to 10 minutes or so, or maybe even shorter. But one of the things from a policy perspective that we've thought a lot about is, should these types of services be opt-in instead of opt-out, meaning that by default, nobody's in the database and then you can register if you want to. Whereas these, you're already in it, basically.
And so far, the strategies you're talking about are having the person go to the sources from which you are drawing and opt out of each source, rather than trying somehow to prescribe this particular use while leaving the sources untouched. And there's no hidden question behind the question. I'm just taxonomizing a little. Yeah. AnhPhu, any thoughts on that, or just a +1 to Caine?
+1 to Caine, basically. Yeah, I think just to add, like, there is a lot of policy work that should be done, and I think our video made it very clear how dangerous it could be. And yeah, we actually talked to the people at Epic who does a lot on like data brokers, which are the people search engines. So maybe we could see a policy change in the next few years.
For the both of you, and this is just asking you as the people who went to the trouble to do this, it's rather than drawing necessarily on your tinkering expertise, but would it be a better world in which you couldn't build this?
I think, oh, sorry. I think, oh. I'll turn it off. Or I'll just project, but I think, at least for me, I think systems like this should be more like something you register up to. For example, I mean, like Facebook is probably a like okay example in the sense that billions of people have Facebook profiles throughout the world, and they have all kinds of information like bio information, where they're from, their profile photo and that type of thing. I guess going that route where you have people sign up and they're like bought into the service is a bit better than like just scraping every single person online.
So you're describing a world where the glasses only work on a person if they have affirmatively opted in to this particular style of use. And can I ask, if that were the world, is there, let me know with a hum, if you would opt in. 1, 2, 3. Anybody who would opt in, presumably given your desire, your extroversion, you might want to, you'd feel comfortable explaining why to those who did not hum? Yeah? Two folks here.
Yeah, so I think it's really a context-dependent thing for me personally. So let's say I'm going into a conference and I allow that on and like other people are letting that on, then
all that effort to look at a lanyard,
that would
why not just make it that I wear glasses that make 1,000 function calls and then tell me who you are, and I can say, is your parent's name Dottie?
Yeah, I love when someone asks me that question. So I'm really looking forward to that.
If you had a nickel.
Exactly, yeah. So we were actually just talking about this of how would socialization work in a place where basically around you I'm seeing like this, Instagram profile of you walking around, and in many ways it could just make the interaction a lot less interesting. There's no like room for curiosity, but it could also make it a lot more interesting. So if I know a lot more about you in a professional context, I know to just write the questions to ask you, and we can skip past like the weather and all that sort of stuff. So it depends on the context. I would probably turn it off after I leave, let's say, the conference.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because you're talking about a context where the privacy is not on-off, but is sort of a spectrum, and it's among people who are strangers but are gathered for a common purpose and are somewhat self-selected, vetted to have chosen to attend that conference. Also might be interesting to imagine retroactively approving it, so if there's a missed connection, in the hopes of finding it, you could belatedly opt in, and then you don't have to decide in the moment whether you want it to be recognizable in the moment. I don't know if either of you has thoughts on this, or if we should just go to the other opt-inner.
I mean, one thought is, I guess in terms of pros and cons, right? Like the main downside is, not everybody, a lot of people, you don't want everybody to know that you're from, I'm from Indiana and I like, electric skateboarding and stuff. Maybe I don't want people to know that. But I guess on the other hand, it could be like a new way of connecting people where, like maybe you find out that you're both alumni of the same high school and you haven't met before. So I think there's, also a lot of good use cases.
Well, that starts to suggest that there could be an implementation of this that instead of randomly scraping the web and databases for stuff, on recognition simply diverts to an about.me page or equivalent that maybe still doesn't have your name, but has some salient facts about you so that you're sharing a little bit about your identity so you can avoid the boring stuff without yet having to say where you live and all that. They'd have to go to extra effort to tie it up. That's an interesting implementation. In my description of it just does an about.me without having to put it on a t-shirt, how many people would would opt into that? 1, 2, 3. I've sold a few on it, I think. not yet ready to drop your other business ideas, but a few. Anything we're missing from our other opt-inner?
I just think that if that it's important to have an opt-in system, but then at that point, if people opted in to basically like use the service, then they are aware that their public information is like visible, at least to like their own local like network or like however it works.
Yeah.
So I mean, in terms of whether I would use it because information is nice. It's nice to know about other people. It's sort of a simple answer.
And that's a neat like reciprocity too, that given that I would like to know it for other people, maybe I should agree to have it be known about me by other people. Kind of like peer-to-peer, I'm going to have to swap what I have if I'm going to download what other people have to use like a 2001 reference. It also suggests that the kind of modulation Facebook purports to offer amidst its Byzantine controls could potentially be here too, that says, I'll turn it on for anybody who is a friend on Facebook or a friend of a friend or within 2 connections on LinkedIn. I think probably everybody in the world is within 3 connections on LinkedIn. But a way of circumscribing who can use it, which is a generalization of the I'm at a conference with trusted-ish strangers. Maybe trusted strangers are also friends of friends on LinkedIn, but not just anybody. You can see modulating it in lots of ways. Other hands are up way in the back. I believe that's Laura. Oh, maybe I shouldn't identify you. Sorry. It's probably not Laura.
This is Laura. I'm a product manager at the lab. I'm wondering what the process for opting out is, and like, would it be possible to do a V2 of these classes where instead of searching you and identifying you, it auto-opts, it checks whether you're already opted out, and if you're not, it just opts you out from all of these services. So it's like the protective version of this. Yeah.
That's a good question. We don't have any current plans to build a V2 like that, but I mean, the services that we list for you to opt out of usually require you to actually upload your own ID to verify your identity, actually. So we couldn't do that for you, at least right now.
Was there one other question from our opt-inner here and one back there? Jay, did you want to go?
I don't know if this is a question so much as a comment, but I think it would be kind of concerning to think about a society where your social value is determined by the amount of data that you're willing to share. And the idea that when you're in like a public space and you have your About Me page, for those who choose not to kind of participate in that system,
does it make you sus?
It makes you suspicious. It may make you less approachable. And I think that that's like a really kind of interesting moral dilemma to play with.
Yeah, it reminds me a little of the eBay used to have a shades icon next to people. I just thought it meant you were a cool seller, but it really means that you're new, so you are shady. Back in the day, I don't know who did the UX for eBay, but you're pointing out that there could be social reorganization where if you don't have an About Me page, what's your deal? Maybe that reservation at the restaurant won't come through. And for eBay, it's a commercial transaction where maybe knowing something about the seller, are they new, are they not, what are they hiding, in commerce might make sense. In just on the subway, I'm not going to give my seat up for that person if they're acting suspiciously by not joining the thing. I don't know. Again, there's no reason why you all would have to be expert on this, but you've probably given it some thought.
Yeah, so this is something at least I've thought about a lot, and I think about it as it's like sort of a continuum of like all social media, because what you're mentioning exists a little bit with like existing social platforms, right? Where maybe you're looking to hire somebody, but they don't have a LinkedIn, and that would be like almost like docking them a point compared to somebody who does have a LinkedIn. And I mean, I guess, yeah, I kind of just think of it as, you know, a spectrum.
But it is basically validating the idea that what feels like being flexible and allowing for individual decision about exposure ends up having a cross-society normative effect that could tip into affecting the entire societal dynamic. And whether that's a matter for public policy or collective, where do we want to go today, versus just like, well, so be it. I don't know. I don't know. I see other hands up. Before we take the next round of questions, it would just be great to hear from each of you about the spike of incandescent attention you got for approximately 1.5 news cycles about this. And just tell us how that unfolded and anything you learned from it or were surprised by.
Yeah, so it was pretty insane and also intense. We had about a month of just like talking to dozens of reporters and journalists, and I guess like the biggest learning we had was, well, we've never like gone that viral before, so we learned how to talk to journalists was number one. We got media trained by someone really nice at Harvard too.
And I know it's mostly tacit knowledge, but what would you distill as the 1 or 2 important lessons of media training?
Stick to a few important points, like 3 important points.
No matter the question.
No matter the question. And you don't have to answer any question. You can always just like kind of answer it and then move back to something you actually want to talk about.
And that was after several awkward questions like, how much did you make in your cell phone business came up.
Yeah.
And any other lessons before you move on to other stories from the news cycle?
Yeah, I mean, it was just like overall a pretty like fun experience in the sense that I think we were successful in getting people a lot more aware, and like the general public a lot more aware of, you know, these like privacy like issues and, you know, policy that could be enacted to help solve it. So I guess my big takeaway is like, oh, if you, you know, make a technology and you present it in a like engaging way to people, whether it's like a video or like, you know, a product or something, you can cause like outsized impact in like policy and like news cycles.
Did anybody want to buy you all out?
We had a lot of interest from like people who wanted to buy it or investors, but we actually turned all of those down during the news cycle. We didn't sell any product.
And you just had a conversation and found you were naturally aligned on that? This wasn't something you wanted to take to the next level?
Yeah, we decided before the launch that we wouldn't sell this product at all, basically.
Did you hear anything from Meta?
No, but they had a spokesperson like talk to journalists.
There's just a grin from Caine that has a story behind it.
No, they were just very, they were like kind of critical of it, mostly because, you know, Meta's a very big company, right? So they have to keep a very polished brand image. So
they've had good media training.
Yeah. They're better trained than we are, so.
All right, let's throw it back to folks. There are different hands up. I don't know where the mic is. Has the mic found? Feel free, Claire, to just start routing it.
Hi, so this is super interesting. And one of the reactions I was having is I'm feeling kind of provincial in that I'm thinking about like how my parents might react to this. And they're like, yeah, I leave the house. I see only people I know. Everybody knows who I am. They know my dad. Like, hi, Joe. Hi, Bob.
Do they live in a village or they're just extremely famous?
No, they're in a town of, let's say, 20,000 residents in Connecticut, you know, and dad was on the town council at some point and mom works at the optometrist and there's only one, you know. So it's not like
that is literally provincial.
Yeah. And so I feel like they would be like completely nonplussed by this.
Wait, nonplussed as in unimpressed?
Yeah, and then they would
sorry,
just be
okay.
like, it's weird. Like when they come to Boston, part of the thing that they like is that they see loads of people and they wonder if they're going to see anybody they know. And so I wonder if our like how, like if we were to present this to all humans, how many urbanites would be like, I'm used to being anonymous wherever I go, and how many, or like I'm an urbanite who stays at home most of the time. I go to work.
One quick question. Do your parents ever travel?
Yes. Not internationally or anything, but they go on vacation.
I think they go to the pharmacy or something. But no. So when they're on vacation, do you think it would change their mind? Or so what? People might know who I am, but why would they do anything with it?
You know, wouldn't, I don't know. That would be
Public link to the video. You could share it with them, see what they think.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
And I'll report back if it's
I don't know, any
interesting.
thoughts from AnhPhu or Caine?
Yeah, I mean, we've gotten a lot of, part of it going like quite viral and stuff is we did end up getting like quite a massive quantity of feedback on this project from a lot of different people and like a lot of different demographics. And I mean, it's kind of like what you'd sort of expect, where like younger people around Harvard, for example, have like on average like higher. I don't know. They're like more in favor of it than if you go to like maybe a small town and address like an older demographic.
Wait, but you were saying that the small town, at least with your focus group of 2, in your mind, because you haven't talked to them about it yet, would be copacetic with it, or like kind of unmoved by it. And the Harvard students were kind of unmoved by it too.
Yeah, I think younger people and like more like tech-forward people are less moved.
Because they know, which would also explain the reaction in the room, which was not dropped jaws. Is the mic found, or, yep, whoever's got it, go for it.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. Yeah, I'm Augustia, but I'm sure you already knew that. I'm wondering, when you mentioned the presentation, the first thing I thought was how easy this might be to weaponize. So let's say a government or rogue actor wanted to identify anyone. How easy would it be to do that with your experience of building it? And also for like the everyday person, if you had these glasses, I mean, how easy would it be to say, look at a person and find out more personal information beyond the benign, like even an address or a name, beyond that, like a social security number or a credit card information, etc.
Yeah, so great question. We knew that people would want to reproduce this, and even after the video, we've seen dozens of examples where this was reproduced. But yeah, we took a few steps to make this at least slow it down while people had time to process and opt out. So we didn't do any online demos. We didn't open source anything. We didn't sell the software. But yeah, I think like for us, it took us 4 days to code or so for the original version. And yeah, it is not hard to reproduce once you know the concept. And then if you have anything to add.
So it is also interesting to think that if you string together, tinker with some American constitutional law tentpoles, there's a case that says that the authorities are allowed to do in public and in plain view whatever techniques are available to the general public, that they shouldn't be disadvantaged. This was a case involving infrared light detector, which probably dates the case, to find marijuana growing lamps, which probably dates the case, that were illegal. And the thing was, well, wait a minute. Those plants weren't in plain view. There was a wall, but the heat detector could find them. And the Supreme Court says, well, look, if any stranger could walk down the street with a Radio Shack, which dates the case, heat detector, we're not going to stop the police from it. If you take that tentpole of doctrine and apply it here, it says, if 2 extremely talented, to be sure, Harvard juniors could do this in 4 days, how could the authorities be told you can't do it too? And the it would previously have been a papers, please moment, which is a triggering phrase from World War II, that American constitutional law, before you get to say papers, please, you have to reach certain thresholds as the authorities to demand it and arrest somebody if they refuse to present them. This bypasses that because it says, I don't need to, I get the papers without asking because they are in plain view and their data is in plain view. So we just put that together, and it may be that at least in the absence of a statute that says the authorities can't do it, they have new affordances they didn't have before. All right, there are other hands up. I don't know if the mic has found a new home. And there are folks up front too, but yep, whoever's got it.
Hello. I have a question, maybe more philosophical, but just the conversation that we've been having. I wonder if knowing all these facts kind of about people at random, if it kind of undermines human relationships. And I wonder if you guys could comment on like what really is knowing? You know what I mean? Having these different facts about people, it can be weaponized, as was mentioned, but I don't know if you guys could talk about that.
Uh-huh.
I think a future where you can know about people who you see, if they've like fully consented and they're all for it as well, could be quite interesting in the sense that day to day we get to know like less than 1% of the people we ever see, right? We're just walking through the street, most people are complete strangers to us. Um, I think that there could be room for a lot of more like connection and like meeting new people and like self-expression, if you could sort of express yourself in this new way, like in the digital medium. Because right now you can wear like clothes to express yourself, you can wear like glasses, you can like talk to people. But what if you extend that to like the digital realm? And when somebody looks at you, they can see like a photo that you posted about yourself, or like a video, or maybe like a bio, or maybe that something that you like want to express about yourself to the world. I think could be interesting.
Truly metaphorically, it's like having a T-shirt without limited physical real estate. The
Yeah, it's like a
T-shirt is
digital
the QR code. If people walked around with QR codes on their T-shirts that went to About Me pages, that's the opt-in version of this, isn't it? Ask me about ... And I suppose too you could set thresholds and triggers. It says, I came from suburban your folks town, and if I happen to pass anybody who's also within 20 miles of there while I'm abroad, let's have a mutual discovery moment or something, or a fellow tinkerer, or whatever it is. Are we making it less creepy? Is that, are you communing with Caine on this, or you're still?
I think there's a huge potential for something like this. I think it could totally change the way people meet new people. So I'm in favor of Caine on this. And I guess just to add, like, I think the AI tools we have now, including embeddings and large language models that can like understand people in a much deeper way, I think you can represent people's personalities and hobbies and passions and interests and tell you who you should meet, who you should talk to. I think the future of the world might become something.
So it's a self-propelling friendship dating site that as you walk around, there might even be a double opt-in where it gives you like a heat-seeking directional thing. There's a green 2 blocks over and to the right, and then you go over there and you pass them. You do kind of a surveillance pass, and they're doing the same thing. They're checking you out, and then you get maybe a double swipe moment where you're like, coffee? And for somebody just watching, all you see are people that pass one another and then make another thing, and then boom, off to McDonald's, which they're both recommended because the AI knows exactly what they want in that moment. And there's even a coupon for a first meeting. Are we elaborating this too much? And somewhere Jay is like, this is exactly my worst nightmare. But are we still selling it? Yeah.
I think you would have to maintain some form of autonomy for the person to, like, say, okay, this is one option, this is another option. But I love how you portray it as something that would fundamentally enhance like human interaction, and that can be used for very bad purposes as well. But I agree with you, it's like could really also have a positive aspect.
All right, Valerie's directing the mic. Wherever it is, jump in.
Hi. Hi.
2 mics, sorry.
Is that okay?
We'll do the back, then we'll do the front.
Hi, I'm Rhea. Thanks for this. This is awesome. I'm wondering, so Google had this blip with Google Glass. What do you think stopped them from doing what you guys are doing back then, and what's stopping them from doing what you guys are doing now?
Yeah. So Google Glass is a really interesting case because I think that came out like 10 to 15 years ago, and they got a lot of pushback. Like they even coined the phrase "glass hole" for people like wearing glasses, like their smart glasses.
To be clear, it wasn't Google who coined that phrase.
Oh yeah. Somebody else gave them that phrase, and the reason that it failed was like one, the actual hardware itself, the technology itself, wasn't really appealing to people. It would look really weird. It had like weird like wires and stuff, and like wasn't like something you'd want to wear generally. And then also in addition to the technology side, on the privacy side, right? Like people definitely weren't comfortable with others wearing like wearable cameras in daily life. So that project largely failed. We do have, it is 10 to 15 years later, so maybe, things have changed. A lot more people have social media profiles and like very robust online presences. That's what made our video possible to begin with. So, maybe that's different now.
There was something up front, I think. Yep.
What are your guys' next steps? What do you want to do now?
Yeah. So, me and AnhPhu, we're tinkers, right? So we just like to play around with a bunch of different ideas. In the like interaction space, we're trying a lot of different methods. Like it's very interesting. Like every person, like their online footprint can be like converted into basically like a mathematical vector, a representation of them, like using math. And you can like if we kind of alluded to it, but you can like very easily like see how you match up to somebody else. So like me and AnhPhu, for example, we like tried it on each other, and we're like a 99.8% match out of like every person at Harvard, right? Because we both like technology, stuff like that. So we're playing around with an idea in that space of like meeting people by, seeing how similar you are.
I love this idea of like these four people are embedded together. See what I did there? Yeah. I got to workshop that. Sorry.
No, that was good.
Yeah. AnhPhu, any thoughts or
No,
keep it rolling?
Keep it rolling. Yeah.
Keep it rolling. Where did the mic find its next home? Jay.
Since I was mentioned by name, I one of my concerns with this kind of higher concept is the idea of taking what I think are some of the worst aspects of social media and bringing them to real life rather than the best aspects. And one of those is the idea of kind of flattening out who we are as people into certain key characteristics that we choose to share. And so I understand the idea of like, oh, I like volleyball, you like volleyball, both of our profiles say that, and let's have a conversation about it, which we might not have gotten to unless the glasses told us. But that might also, redirect us from a much more niche conversation about our love for the Y2K episode of Family Guy or something like that, right? Like the idea that we are flattening out our social personas to the things we choose to share online.
Caine come back to you and say, yes, there's a formula for that too. By 5.0, we'll have ways of representing even unusual connection, or we can throw in a randomization variable to make sure there's still some sprezzatura to it. Does that mollify you in any way, or is your objection somehow not about the implementation and it's not going to match the right kind of people or it's going to become the exclusive way of matching, but it's a more fundamental objection you have?
I think it is more fundamental. I think there's a certain element of human spontaneity that is lost when we try to, this is not a word, but algorithmize things.
Algorithmicize.
Algorithmicize. Thank you, Jay-Z. So I think that when we're thinking about fostering human connection, if we lose that element of spontaneity, we are again continuing to kind of flatten who we are into the things we like and the things we don't like, and maybe not the things that we may stumble upon together that we didn't know that we both liked.
And how would you think about that? Would that be back to you can always opt out or fail to opt in?
Yeah, I think one is like, yeah, I think people should be able to opt into something like this. But again, I think as with all new social networking technologies, you have to make a very concerted effort at all steps whenever you're developing this product and see where it could go bad and try to fix the problems along the way. I personally feel like the world, it has been moving forward toward this for the past 20 years of more self-expression in the digital realm. And I don't see this becoming any less weak in the next 20 years. I think people just want to express themselves even more deeply, find like people who they really relate to. And I think tools like AI can really help with that. So I guess I feel like, in my opinion, we have to move toward this way, but think very deeply every single development step to make it as moral, as good as possible.
And just the taxonomist in me is observing there really are two steps that are being concatenated, and you could object to either or both, or the sum. One of which is the virtualization of what you're already describing as physical expression designed as a relational social thing to communicate whom you would probably strike up a conversation with or not as a stranger. That's the virtualization piece, extra real estate for the QR code on the t-shirt. The second piece is the algorithmicization of the decision to connect. And that's, at the moment, that's the objection you're making. You could see having one without the other or the other without the first, really, in a physical space. And the thought of also saying, it doesn't even have to be people that you're passing, but like, I'm about to go to the subway, I've got some extra time. Should I take this subway or the next one? And which car do you recommend I enter to possibly find somebody that I could have an interesting conversation with? Because I'm going all the way to Mattapan. Is that a more interesting sort of, it might even mean that the journey becomes more the destination because there's now a social license and structure through which strangers can, am I selling it? I'm trying. Yeah, okay. Other thoughts?
Hi, I'm Sharon. This is really fascinating. I was just wondering, going back to the point on this new paradigm of self-expression, I was kind of thinking on maybe a more dystopian side where you realize that you have an online trail of, for instance, like a criminal record from like 30 years past, and then you realize that's kind of trailing around, and then you become kind of alienated in society because of this past negative trail of you. Are you kind of thinking about classifying types of information and making sure people can personalize, whether you can opt in certain information that can be publicized, but in some information that can also be privatized?
I think for an app like this, you would be able to control exactly what is on your profile, just like on any other social network. So you can put your criminal history on there if you want to be known for that or not. But yeah.
Check location on January 6th. Sorry. Other.
Yeah, I just want to speak to the points you were bringing up because I deeply share the outcome or what you're saying you care about. I share that with you, and I've been wondering about how AI can bring us closer together as opposed to bring us farther apart or just have us in our own world of like algorithms and bots and all that. And I think, yes, that's one version of it that you said. I wonder if there's another version of it where if I with all my biases and prejudices am walking around and I see someone and immediately what's coming to my mind because of how polarized and how like distant we are from each other, I can only see the things where we're different, and maybe there is things where we're actually really close apart that we can't see. And I would really be interested in a version of this that shows me what is my common humanity with this person that I could find 100 reasons why I disagree with, because I think we really need that right now in America and the world.
Which is very, it sounds like it's very different from meet these folks but not those folks, but rather for any given person, here's something you could talk about that might be a point of fulfillment, if not even shared belief. Maybe it's precisely because you disagree, but something where each of you would come away later and say, I'm glad I met that person.
Yeah, which really depends on what's the incentives in the algorithm, right? Because the algorithms right now just want to get us more engaged, polarized, all that.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Curious if you have thoughts about that. That was just a comment, but also open your thoughts and suggestions on it.
Yeah, I think that you guys are almost kind of going through a similar thought process that or like evolution that me and AnhPhu have had, where it's like, oh, when you first see it, right, there's like all kinds of like crazy, like, oh, this is like not a good thing. Like there's all kinds of bad use cases, right? It could be used to, find people and like follow people, just like not good use cases. But, I think like as you think about it more and like, as me and AnhPhu have thought about it more, it becomes apparent that there could be something like a little bit like embedded within this that could be useful for changing the way that we interact. And it doesn't have to be negative. It can be a way of like meeting new people, learning about people, seeing the humanity in people.
Got it. Other thoughts? Has the mic already found a new place? Yep, we probably have time for one more comment.
Yeah, I don't want to repeat too much of what was said before. Just brief comment. So Well, I don't think your mic is on. I call it. I've not been here for long, but the most fascinating conversations I've had were people who I didn't expect to meet, even people who any algorithm that probably knew almost everything about me and that person, not expect to have a good conversation with. This includes someone that I randomly met. I love spontaneity. The next day we were on a road trip and we went randomly to different places. When pre-med, we shared almost nothing. And then now we have this question is the algorithm can randomize and lead us to confront people with different perspectives. Then why don't we just let people meet the real way? Like it just seems odd to me that we're so focused on simulating human connection that we're not just letting humans connect as we always do. I don't think the solution to prejudice and racial division in America is that an algorithm doing the heavy lifting for a person when the people are the one on the front lines doing the prejudice and having bias. So maybe we should let the people do themselves.
I think that's a fair point. For me, at least as a freshman, I feel like I spent a lot of time being with friends that I really did enjoy being friends with. But at the end of the day, like I met Caine, and he and like a couple other people were really the people I clicked with and went years working with. And I wish I could have found my community first and then branch out to like other interesting people, because I love hearing other people's perspectives. But I feel like the bigger problem is people aren't able to find people who they truly click with, I think, as easily as they could be. I do think that maybe people you enjoy conversing with as well, maybe there's something you can't define yet, but maybe an AI could tell you why you would click with this person and predict that you would get along with them in some way other than just your pre-med major or other background.
Yeah, no, it is really interesting. Like, I actually wanted to see, so like me and AnhPhu, we're a 99.8% match according to our algorithms. But one of my other very, very close friends, we were only like a 40% match or something like that. So I think you are right that there's something that can't be defined, at least yet, in the algorithm.
Because you still like those friends. You didn't see the 40% match and be like, we can never speak again.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, got it. Well, what I love about this conversation is that we didn't just do the, here's a thing, what should we do next? Here's how you can protect yourself, and there should be a law, which is kind of the pattern of most technology discoveries, rightly or wrongly. But we got into questions of what kind of society are we? What kind of society do we want? To what extent are there technical innovations that might even start or unfold without a particular business model, but just out of curiosity and tinkering, that could push us in one direction or another, and that might even, when introduced, be a net negative if all other variables of society are held constant, but could, as a second or third order effect, complicate the evaluation of are they good or are they bad. And of course, the overlay on all of this is, do we just YOLO it collectively, and like stuff gets released or it doesn't, and Illinois passes a biometric law but nobody else does, and we just sort of see what happens? I feel like, digitally speaking, we've been guinea pigs for the past 30 years in a bunch of experiments not even run by a central authority. Or is it positive or negative to think collectively about what we want? Where do we agree on end states and values, but then disagree on implementation and whether this will get it there? Or where are we actually disagreeing on the values themselves? I've heard all varieties of that. So I just want to thank you two for prompting such an interesting and rich conversation, the whole room for continuing it. And it really makes me wonder what sort of further pursuit we could inspire here together of these sorts of issues. Because I also heard you saying, version 1 had a lot of wires. Version 2 we produced and then ditched for reasons that show, as positive as you are on the possibilities, you weren't ready to try to make it a reality. Version 3 is going to come around the corner. And what stake do we all have in trying to shape what that looks like? So thank you again for this brief and brisk conversation today. Thank you all for coming out for it. To be continued. and I'll see you on the red line.
Thank you, guys.